Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are with the CEO and founder of Gold Mine Thoughts. We're talking to Coach Barnes today about her work as a life coach and leadership development and how she can help you. Welcome back today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. And yourself? I'm pushing through a cold, but I'm here. I guess with the change of weather.
Me too, as you can hear. So I apologize to all the listeners out there. I'm just a little under the weather and losing my voice, just a cold, but I'm glad you're doing okay. Where are you off to? For those that don't know, on the live podcast, we're also live on Zoom. Are you going anywhere good for the weekend?
I'm actually on my way back to the city from upstate. My niece was recognized at her college that she graduated, Upstate TC3. She received the Extinguished Alumni Award. She's the first young African American woman to receive so for community service. And the foundation is named the Melquan Anderson Foundation, fighting against gun violence via education. So we were up there at the commencement ceremony, celebrating her with great honor. So I'm like out of the mind with joy and excited about that. So I'm heading back to the city.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yes.
Wow. So for new listeners out there, introduce yourself, please.
Awesome. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This is Queens and Kings. This is Coach Barnes, founder and CEO of Gold Mine Thoughts. I am a leadership development and life coach. I also focus on polishing your crown and loving yourself through your trauma. So I'm located in Brooklyn, New York, in the heart of Brooklyn. 55 Washington Street, Brooklyn, New York, 11201, right in the Dumbo area. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, and I am here to help service you.
Oh, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. And that's what you do. GoldMineThoughts.com. Is that the website?
Yes, it is. Gold Mine Thoughts is www.goldminethoughts.com. My social media handles are at Coach Barnes GMT. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and even TikTok.
Got it. All right. So staff training, leadership development, and so much more. What did you want to discuss for us today?
You know what, Jill, in the wake of everything that's going on, I really wanted to talk about trauma today. I wanted to talk about what it looks like to love yourself through the trauma. I wanted to talk about grief. I wanted to talk about how to be supportive of those who are going through a traumatic experience as well as grief. So yeah, I just, thoughts and prayers, love, support out to those families in both Texas and Buffalo. The unthinkable has happened. And it's times like this that we all need to pull together. It's also times like this where the work that I do is so much needed, right? Because trying to process the unthinkable is so difficult because you don't know where to start. You don't know where to start, Jill. And being someone who has went through the traumatic effects that gun violence has had, I know it's like walking as a zombie. You're just in a state of, you don't know when you went to sleep. You don't know when you woke up. You don't know if you went to sleep. You don't know, you can't even think of when the last time you drank water or whatever. Like the only thing on your mind is those last moments with your loved one. And so I wanted to talk a bit about what it looks like to offer support to someone who's going through such a traumatic state, and what it looks like to ask for support when you're the person who's going through a traumatic state like that. And a lot of that has to do with allowing yourself to cry. A lot of that has to do with recognizing you are human. You have to give yourself grace. You have to give others grace. And it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
Because right now we're not okay. We are not okay at all. And even though it may not have affected you, and then when I say you, I mean the individual, because you didn't know the people in Texas or in Buffalo, it's still they're human beings in his life. And if you are a parent or you have nieces and nephews, just or teacher or any of those type of things, or people in that line of work, it tugs at your heart,
Yeah.
It tugs at your heart and your emotions. And we're not okay. We're just not okay. And it's understandable. And I want everyone to know that it's okay to not be okay right now, because these things are not normal.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't happen.
And there's nothing you could do to prepare for it,
Right.
unfortunately. And then
Right.
all these lives that are lost, these young lives. How do you make sense as a parent, to lose your child to,
Right.
so much
In
chaos. You had
such a manner.
the shooting in Buffalo, then you have the shooting in Texas. It's like people being racist, and then killing children. It's just baffling to me. And
Right.
I only pray that these families could get through. My goodness.
And and it's going to take a while. Really, I really just want to be honest in that. And I want people to understand it is going to take a long time to try to even recover or start to heal from this. And my charge to everyone is to give these families grace. My charge to everyone is be a listening ear. My charge to everyone is respect these individuals, these families, these communities, respect their process. Because for many people, their day by next week, their days will become regular again. Their days will move on. They will be able to put the next foot in front of the other and go. But for these communities, they're going to be stuck in this traumatic experience for a while. And it's important that everyone understands that this experience carries for a long time. So it's not only what we can do now, it's what we can do later. And that is, even if you're telling a stranger you don't know, have a good day. Smiling at someone you don't know. But you never know what an individual is going through in their day. And your smile may be the one thing that brightens their day or change their mind from making a traumatic decision that will affect so many other people. So it's important that we be kind to one another. We be kind to strangers. And we get so busy that we forget those little simple things. And, I've done it myself. Like, I'm in my head a lot. I'm walking, thinking about all the things I'm planning and what I want to do, and I can walk past someone, and it could be someone I know and don't even recognize that I didn't stop to smile or speak at them. So I just want you to give yourself grace, but don't forget that we are all human, and that those simple interactions are extremely important. And since COVID had happened, we have all been in these bubbles and isolated from one another. So we're relearning, we're reconditioning our mindsets to get back out into society. So my charge again is love one another, smile at others, check in. Check in and check in on yourself. Be okay with asking for support and help. And if you don't know what that is, journal down the things that's going in your mind so that you can later look back at it, reflect, and maybe that'll help you understand or come to some type of conclusion of what it is that you need and what help looks like to you.
Got it. Wow. Thank you.
It's heavy, Jill.
It is.
It's heavy. It's heavy. And I thought it was really important that we spend today just, acknowledging the heaviness, because the work that we do, Jill, is so important. Both you and I, and we have this platform. It's really important that we let others and use this platform to let others know that we're here. Yep. We're here. If you need to call in, even if it is that you're just listening in, we're okay with that. We are here. We care. We love you. And we will continue to use our platform to uplift, elevate, encourage, inspire, and motivate others.
I love it. Your positivity is just, I wish everyone had it, right?
Right. Right. It's just I'm just thinking and so my great niece is then she's 4 years old, Kinsey, she's been on this trip on the road with us. And because of my sickness, I walk around with my oxygen. And
Mm-hmm.
she's like, Titi, why do you always have that thing in your nose? And
Ah,
I'm like, it's helping me breathe. She said, well, can I help you breathe? I'm like, well, I was like, you help me smile, but I need this to help me breathe. And she's like, well, I want that. I said, no, no, no. You don't want that. I want you to be you. And then you brighten up my day because you make me smile. And she did the cutest thing. She put both hands on my face and she just pulled me and she kissed me and she said, I love you, TT. She's like, you always make everything right. And those little words from a 4-year-old, like, Jill, you can't even imagine how much it warmed and touched me yesterday because I was like in such a bad place and triggered from the trauma that happened and then thinking about the trauma that I experienced in my own life with losing my nephew. I just was like, it's important. And that's what made me think. I said, you know what, today we're going to use today's platform to share a little love out in the universe because we have to feed the universe love, hope, and inspiration because especially in a time like this, it is so needed. It is so needed, Jill.
absolutely is. My goodness. Whew. Now, the type of work you do, I mean, obviously you work with those dealing with trauma of all sorts,
Right,
right?
right.
And part of the process after trauma is grief, right? The
Right.
grieving process. Any
Mm-hmm.
advice to those out there that are grieving from losing a loved one in a situation like this, or just loss in general? How do you go through grief, and what are some of the steps that are normal, should be happening, and how could you get through it? It's amazing how resilient we are. During the time, you never see it that way, but most people can come out of it. Not everyone can. So what are some of the things that you should be doing during the
And
grieving
so,
process? Like,
right. And so what I would say to that is everyone's grief is different because everyone's interactions are different, right? And you go through the different stages. You go through the beginning stage, you go through the denial stage that you can't even believe this happened. Then you go through the bargaining stage of if you can bring my loved one back, I will do X, Y, and Z. And it's like realistically, it can't happen, but it's a stage that your mind is just in because you're grieving so hard, and you just want your loved one, right? And then you go through the anger stage where you're just mad at the world, you're mad at everybody, because you just can't believe this thing is happening. And then you get to a stage where it's like, okay, I'm getting to a stage where of understanding, and not so much, I don't like to say understandable, but it's more so of I'm transitioning to a space where I'm dealing with what's happening. And while you're going through all these different stages, because grief has no time limit, it's based on the individual and the way they process it. I say that it's okay to ask for help. I say it's important to journal down, brain dump your emotions, whether you type it on a note, whether you use your phone, whether you have paper to pen, or pen to paper, it doesn't matter. Journal those things down because the first 2 years is usually a blur for you.
yeah.
The first two, especially when you lose someone to such a violent act, like in Texas and Buffalo, you go through the first 2 years is a fog because you can't even fathom to
No.
believe that this has happened, So I definitely would say go through the process, and where you are is where you need to be within your own process because it's your trauma, it's not anyone else's. And no one should try to rush you through that stage because of their level of comfortability. And so that's what happens. And that's why it's important for you to identify your circle of people who have your best interest at heart, your circle of people that know I am grieving and I need you to look out for me because I might be to such a stage of grief that I think about self-harm because I'm not myself.
Yeah.
And that's why it's super important to check in on your friends and family members when they're going through grief, especially something like this, because depression kicks in so fast without them knowing. Depression, anxiety, like everything is tugging at them, and they are just trying to get through day by day, and they need to be surrounded with people who love and care and can let them cry and go through their emotions and not numb themselves, because it's a point during the grieving process where you have to feel the pain in order to come out on the other side. Because the longer you block that pain out, it's going to eventually bubble up and come out on its own. So there has to be a place that you allow yourself, as hard as it is, because trust me, it is extremely hard. It's extremely difficult. Like, even saying the words is an understatement for the process that you're going to go, that an individual goes through. But is until they can let themselves feel those emotions, they won't be able to move forward.
Yeah.
And moving forward, and I just want to make sure I reiterate, moving forward does not mean leaving your loved one behind. Moving forward means you're getting to a place, you are transitioning to a place where you can allow yourself to enjoy the memories that you had with your loved ones. Because in the beginning stage, it's so difficult for you to even think about the good times, because you're hit with this trauma and it plays over and over and over again like a broken record, or a replay, instant replay, like Groundhog Day in your mind, that is so difficult for you to see those memories. But until you can feel that, go through that stage and get to that place of acknowledgement that this is real, this did happen, you won't be able to enjoy the memories and the good times that you did have. And what's so heartbreaking outside of what happened, but what's even a thicker level of heartbreak with Texas is those parents didn't have much time. Those were babies.
Yeah.
Those were babies. They didn't have 20s and 30, 40, 50 years of memories. Those were babies. They were just coming into their court. They know their quirkiness, their personalities were just beginning to develop. Those were babies. So it's important. It's important to support one another, love one another, love someone a little extra today. Because you never know when's the last time.
Yeah.
And you know,
true.
Jill, as a parent, the first thing after being aware of this, the first thing you want to do is go grab your babies and hug them and like, I love you. Like, I can even see you sleeping with your babies that night. Like, I just need you to sleep in the bed with me because I got to be able to touch you. And so for us parents who still have our children and can do that, we can't even imagine the magnitude of grief and hurt these parents are having, because they'll never be able to have that again.
So true.
And that's why it's important to get into therapy. I would definitely say it's important. Even if you don't believe it or think it works, get into therapy, do some meditation. You have to be able to, when you are ready, be able to talk to someone that is going to allow you to go through the motions that you need to go through. And you may not be, and I'm sure they're not ready now, but when they are ready, they need to have someone that can be that listening ear and that support system.
Gosh, I mean, it's just a horrible, horrible thing. And people go through it and there's no answers. And it's just astounding that someone could even think like this to harm someone, especially children, no less. Gosh, it's so sickening. And I've been sick over it myself too. And I'm glad we're talking about it to bring awareness, because if you see something, say something, right? Like yesterday, there was another possible shooting in Texas going down. You got to say something. I mean, people ignore so many signs of people that are in mental, duress. And, what are some of the signs that we should look for in others that are maybe mentally suffering, but they're, what are some of the signs?
And I would definitely say some of the signs are be mindful of mood swings, be mindful of change in behaviors, Be mindful and lack of communication. Be mindful of excessive use of alcohol, drugs, things of that nature. Like, there are little things that we take for granted that we have to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And that's with everyone. That's with ourselves. That's with our loved ones, with our children, our neighbors, just individuals in the community. Notice when someone begins to withdraw.
Yeah.
Right. And again, everyone in the world right now is dealing with some form of mental illness, anxiety, depression, or whatever. And however, everyone's level is not the same.
Yeah.
Everyone's level is not the same. And, it's important to mention that. And it's also important to mention that it's not only the mental illness, it's the access that individuals have to this type of machinery, this type of military artillery. It's the access, it's the easy access that they have to it. And that's what is that's the scary part, because schools and supermarkets and churches, those are safe zones. Those are the things you come with family. That's our community. That's what we come to. Schools are supposed to be the happy, safe place for children, right? It's their home away from home. Churches is your spiritual state. It's your sanctuary where you go and you praise and you bond with others with a similar background or feeling or belief, right? It's your culture, your spiritual culture. Supermarkets, you go as a family. Let's shop and be going for dinner. So it's like these places are no longer sacred. And it's scary. It's scary to parents. It's scary to our elderly. It's scary to everyone. We are losing our sense of community because everybody is walking in silos of their own life. And we're not a village anymore where we look after one another.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Coach Barnes, how can we reach out to you to work with you for consultation?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Reach out to me at www.goldmindthoughts.com. Don't forget to follow my blog, therecondition.com. And I'm on social media at Coach Barnes GMT. Jill, it was great being with you again. I know today was heavy, but hug those boys for me.
I will. Thank you.
And get better soon.
You too. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You as well. Have a good day and a good Memorial Day weekend. Thank you.
You do the same. Okay. Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.